All right, so let's do this. I promised that we would be doing celebrity deathmatch college list editions, and this is going to be our first official stab at that. So today, welcome to college deathmatch, I guess, or college. Let's call it college list deathmatch, and the competitors are going to be announced in a moment, but I just want to make sure that I give you the premise so that we're all clear on what this is. I'm a firm believer that every college on your list should be strong for what it's there for, meaning that if you have a safety, they should be the best safeties possible for you. If you have targets, they should be the best targets for you. And if you have reaches on your list, they should be the best reaches for you. And every list is going to be necessarily different because every college list is for a different individual. So, take that as a very important disclaimer before we start this fun little game, college list deathmatch, because what we're going to be hyper focusing in on during these episodes is, okay, here are two colleges that are competing for the same spot on your list. Which one is more beneficial in this way versus which one is more beneficial in that way? And at the end, I'll explain which school I would put on my list. But again, I'm one person and you are someone else. So you may not agree with me, but I will at least give the reasoning behind why I would put one college on my list and remove the other from my list, okay? Because again, they're fighting for the same spot on your list. The background to this, of course, is that the assumption is all other colleges on your list are set. Your safeties are set, your targets are set, your reaches are set. There's only one question about one spot, one slot on your list, and that's what these two colleges are going to be fighting over, okay? So let me take a drink. This is sort of like a drinking game. It's something we can play late into the night, as long as we have the right support. Okay, so Washington University in St. Louis versus Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Both terrific schools, both between 5,000 and 10,000 undergraduates, closer to the 5,000 number, I think, in both cases, though I think Northwestern is a little bit bigger. Both very Midwestern in character. Both, again, top ranked. I would really argue for almost all viewers of this video, these are going to be reach schools for you, because these are the best of the best that this country and this world have to offer at the undergraduate level. There are very few individuals I've ever met that I would classify either WashU or Northwestern as a target or as a safety, because the level of competition, the number of applications these colleges are getting is astronomical. So to be completely fair and realistic to both of these schools, these should be fighting for a reach spot on your college list. So here we go. I would say the big differentiation points for me would be, what is my intended major? Am I undecided or am I certain? And then also, what type of experience do I want outside of the classroom? Those would be the two big differentiation points for me to consider as I consider, do I want WashU to occupy that next final spot on my reach part of the list, or do I want Northwestern to occupy that spot on the reach part of my list? So if I was undecided versus if I was certain of my major, I believe that Washington University in St. Louis has one of the premier undergraduate business programs in the country. So if I knew I wanted to major in business, there is no question that I would recommend you and or me, since I'm talking about me here, I would have Wash U get a point there, whereas Northwestern just couldn't because at the undergraduate level, at least, Northwestern doesn't have much to speak of in terms of business, especially relative to Wash U. So there, I would definitely give a point to Wash U. Business at Wash U is terrific. In terms of some other majors, I mean, we could go down the list, but they both have really strong engineering, terrifically strong. There are some different concentrations that are or not available at one or the other. So obviously, look to see if the type of engineering you're most interested in is available at the college in question. I think, for instance, Northwestern does offer civil engineering, whereas I don't believe WashU does, though I'll have to double check on that. But again, so obviously, if civil engineering is available at one and civil engineering is not available at the other, and you want to major in civil engineering, there's no question who wins. But if you're leaning toward engineering generally, but sort of undecided within engineering, I would still probably gravitate toward Northwestern for engineering just generally, though again, we're not getting into the specificity of the particular concentration because, again, every individual is going to be so different. That's why this game is somewhat of a risk to play, but we're attempting it anyway. So, again, major obviously matters a lot. I would say overall, Northwestern doesn't have the diversity of majors that you may expect, considering its undergraduate size and also considering the majors that they offer at the graduate level. Not the majors, but the programs they offer at the graduate level. So definitely, don't be surprised if you don't find, for instance, like international relations, I don't believe is offered as a major at Northwestern undergrad, which is somewhat surprising considering everything else that they do offer. I think, if I recall, speech pathology or something with speech is offered at Northwestern. Very strong program there. So again, when it comes down to majors, obviously do your own due diligence. But in terms of the big players, if I'm leaning toward engineering, I lean toward Northwestern, even though WashU has a terrific school of engineering. If I'm leaning toward business, no question, undergrad WashU, business at WashU, terrific. Pre-med at both, is strong. Obviously a lot of students are attracted to WashU because of its medical school, but just because you get into a school undergrad for pre-med or take some science or other major and you're on a pre-med track does not in any way guarantee admission to that school's graduate school or that medical school. If anything, the cutthroat nature of the pre-med program at WashU may actually be a net negative relative to Northwestern's. So overall, the big flashpoints I want you to focus on: business, stronger at WashU; engineering, I believe, on taken in sum, stronger at Northwestern, though obviously depends on the exact concentration within engineering. And then there's some, obviously situations where you have to really see, does the school even offer your major? And they could both be worthless to you if they don't offer your major. Okay, so that's the major area of focus. The other area of focus I mentioned was what type of experience do you want to have? WashU is in the suburbs of St. Louis, in a place, I think it's Clayton, Forest Park, Clayton. It's a nice little pretty place. There's like a elevated train, like a light rail line that goes right along campus. Beautiful dorms, but it's sleepy. I think the lights flash red and yellow. After 8 p.m. It's quiet in the neighborhood of WashU. Though again, the buildings especially the dorms, are brand new, but it's very beautiful architecture, stone. You really feel like you're at an Ivy League type institution when you're at WashU. Beautiful, just beautiful, but it's sleepy. And St. Louis itself is exciting, I guess, if you lived in the middle of nowhere, but St. Louis is not like the most cosmopolitan city or the most dynamic. But again, it's nice for the right type of person. Obviously, it's well known for many years. Busch Beer, I think they were bought out though by Ambev. In any case, They have a couple major league sports teams, and St. Louis is nice. But it's so friendly. Everyone is so friendly in St. Louis and around WashU. I can definitely state that. In terms of D3 sports at WashU, definitely an academically focused institution. There are athletes on campus, and a big fraternity life, sorority life, fraternity especially, I believe. But again, it's D3 sports, not D1. Northwestern, you are in a town that is definitely a satellite to Chicago. You can get on the L train into Chicago itself. You have a beach in Evanston, though it's only really usable for a few weeks in the summer because it gets so cold at Northwestern over the winter north of Chicago. Beautiful campus. I think Evanston is got a little bit more of an upper Midwest feel because it is in the upper Midwest as opposed to WashU, which is just in the straight Midwest. And, but Chicago is its own animal, Chicagoland as they call it. So you have the dynamism of the third largest city in the United States, though obviously in a few years Houston will eclipse Chicago as the third largest city. Right now Chicago remains the third largest city in the United States. And Chicago's got a lot of art scene, a lot of culture, a lot of different food, and it's always right on the cusp of your campus. Being in a suburb of Chicago, you can always get into Chicago very easily as a Northwestern student. You have D1 sports. You do have fraternity and sorority life as well. And again, I think the campus itself is really very beautiful, though not all of it is as new, especially the dorms, as WashU's. And I would say that if you were looking for the more rah-rah campus experience, let's go root for a sports team. Let's also have the opportunity, if we want to flee campus, to go to a big city easily with all of the opportunities that a big city brings, then Northwestern is your place. If you want more of a cerebral, intellectual vibe in a city or on the cusp of a city with a real city very close by, then I think WashU is more your speed. And if you're not as into sports, the D3 aspect I think is probably more beneficial to you if sports are just not a priority to you, or if you don't want to be surrounded by anyone who really is into sports that much on campus, at least at the D1 level. So for me, I personally just am very happy that I did not major in business undergrad, even though I now am in the world of business. I have my own company. I really think that business would not have been a good fit for me. So for that reason, WashU is not leading the pack. Whereas I also would love to have gone to a school that had a diversity of majors and had the opportunity to feel like you're in a small town, but also be very close to a very big city. And so for that reason, I think Northwestern gets a point in my book. So for me, personally, and I would never do engineering just because even though I was very good at math and science, it's just not something I care for. So with all that in mind, in sum, I would say the grand winner of this Celebrity Deathmatch College List Edition is Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. With that said, WashU is a terrific school for the right type of person, as is Northwestern. And there are people who are watching this video right now who could hate both or hate one and love the other. So always do your own due diligence when developing your college list. Make sure that you have a very, very large first draft college list and winnow it down based off of this general idea of what we just played out in front of you, which is this sort of college list deathmatch mentality, pitting one college against another. If you know that they're both reaches, pit them against each other and see really the strongest reaches that rise to the top of your list. Same thing with the targets, same thing with the safeties, so that you can develop the best college list for you. If I could do it over again, I would definitely have Northwestern on my list. If it came down to Northwestern versus WashU, I would let go of WashU so that other students who would find WashU to be a better fit could try their hand at that terrific university. And I would focus my attention on Northwestern in the reach portion of my college list. We'll do this again soon.